Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to give you guys a look at a really interesting knife that I picked up. We're going to take a look at the Michael Gavko 2.0 flipper. Now, with my normal format, I typically go into the specs and overall impressions and then the specifics. It's with custom knives, there's not really a point to do that because they're really hard to acquire and they are rather expensive, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Now, I'm gonna kind of struggle in this review to focus on the 2.0. Let me tell you a little bit about what happened real quick. I have been infatuated with Michael Gavko's offering since I handled one in person at a knife meet. And so I didn't ever think I would be able to acquire a Mako, his newest model, or his current model. And so when this 2.0 came up, I jumped on it without hesitation. And then the same day, I somehow magically and miraculously was able to acquire a Mako as well. So I had two Gavkos come in on the same day. And it's been really interesting to take a look at an older model versus a newer model to really see how he's kind of refined his designs and changed a little bit. But anyways, there is the two models, 2.0 and then the Mako full size. So, all right, but let's, I'm gonna try to focus on this. So let's take a look at the specs. So blade length on this is about 3.6 inches. Handle length is about 4.8, giving us a total length of about 8.4 inches. Ships in this little baggie. And the total thickness in this direction is about 0.48 inches thick, so a relatively thin knife. And then the width, it goes all the way from about 1.3 inches down to about 0.77 inches as you go from the top to the bottom here. Weight is 4.35 ounces. So overall impressions, I don't think that you can really comprehend Michael's designs until you have them in hand. Again, I don't want to bleed too much into the Mako review because I'm going to put a lot of effort into that one. But when I saw the 2.0 flipper, I was like, oh, that's an interesting design. And the only reason I jumped on it is because I never thought I'd get a Mako, and then the heavens parted and a miracle happened. But so I got this one in, and I have to tell you, this is quite possibly the most ergonomic knife I have ever held, and that is not an exaggeration. Yeah, I mean, so if aesthetically, if Michael's designs don't appeal to you, really reserve your judgment until you're able to handle one. If you are ever able to handle one, so a really good way to to do that is to, kind of meet up with the fellow knife guys in your area, kind of set up a, maybe a meet and greet. Everyone brings their knives, hangs out, you get to check out new stuff. It's very dangerous because then you acquire a taste for things like Gavko's offerings, but, I didn't appreciate his knives until I held my first Mako, and then I was like, oh my gosh. So anyways, this is, getting back on track with this knife, this is quite possibly the most ergonomic knife I've ever handled. And the reason for that is, I'm not doing very well with the overall impressions. It's a really well-made knife. I like his designs. There's certainly elements of it being hand-built. It's not perfect, but with this particular knife, it wasn't meant to be perfect in the details here. So again, I think I've conveyed at the point that his knives are amazing. They have a unique aesthetic, and the ergonomics are insane. So let's get into the specifics. Now, Michael, he uses S110V. I think he's used S90V, and then what's the other one, like Z Finite or something like that. I don't quite remember what it is off the top. This is more of an impromptu review. But he uses really, really high-end steels. He uses ones that take and keep an extremely sharp edge. And I have to be at least the third owner on this one, and it is still shaving sharp. This is a really sharp knife. And then my Mako is tremendously sharp as well. But anyhow, again, really ergonomic. This knife is designed for cutting. As you can see, the way that the hand, it kind of rests in the hand here as it comes up and down, kind of like a peak or a dome. That really gives a lot of leverage on this portion of the knife here, so you get really strong cutting. But again, possibly the most ergonomic knife I've ever held, and I think that's because it starts out, you know, a bit thicker and then it tapers towards the distal end here. That in combination with all these kind of grooves here for the hands, and given kind of the wide berth that each of them have, it'll fit a lot of different hand sizes quite well. Now this one I think has what's called a tree bark finish, but you've got a lot of really cool texturing done in here. You have texturing on the flipper tab, you know, primarily for aesthetic. Obviously the texture on the sides doesn't do anything for flipping action. And then that continues on to the other side. You have a similar look on the pocket clip, and then the back spacers as well has that really interesting, I don't know what to call it, heavily textured, kind of corrugated look to it. And there are elements of imperfection in here, like you can tell that's done by hand. You know, every single one is not like the other. It doesn't look like it's been machined at all, but it looks like it's done by hand. And that really adds to kind of the charm of this particular knife. Now, when I told Mike that I was getting it, he was kind of like, you know, that's one of my older works. You know, I don't think he's too impressed at this point with some of his older offerings, but it's an exceptional knife. Flipping action is great. The geometry of the flipper tab with the forward cant allows for light switch and kind of that push down that both execute a very solid lockup. So, but anyways, yeah, it's just so comfortable in the hand. It has a very organic, almost kind of delicate or gentleman feel to this particular knife. So, yeah, just a really interesting offering. So if you haven't had the chance to hold something from Gavko, I would recommend that you try to hold it at some point or get your hands on something, and I think that you'll have a completely different appreciation for his aesthetics. So again, I don't want to get too deep on it because I feel like I'm going to lapse into kind of some of the things I think about the Mako, but really solid offering, smooth, great lockup, disengages freely, everything's comfortable, everything's ergonomic. We've got some jimping on top here that's sharp but useful, and yeah, I think he uses Alpha Knife Supply bearings, but it's a very smooth knife and just really well put together. So anyhow, one last look at this knife, and I'll pull out my Mako again just because, so you can see kind of the differences here. Certainly the same design aesthetic, but you know, quite possibly kind of an evolution. He just has his own, he just has a very strong design language. I think you probably either love it or you hate it. And if you hate it, it's because you haven't held it yet. So yeah. Anyway, so that was all I wanted to accomplish, give you guys a look at one of his older offerings here. You can typically find the 2.0s for reasonable prices on the secondary market, probably close to what book price was. The Mako, that is not the case. But yeah, and there are quite a few prolific Gavko collectors. There are guys who have several of these in their collections. So just a beautiful, elegant, organic, ergonomic user. Tremendously sharp. You get really good cutting, leverage, and action with this knife. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed taking a look at kind of some of these rarer pieces here. I know that they're not widely available. I know that they're not inexpensive, but I think that we can all appreciate taking a look at things that are kind of outside of the norm, and even more so using and carrying them. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, I've got the Mako review coming, but I need to collect a lot of information before I do that, and hopefully I will have a couple Makos at the same time to show you guys. So stay tuned, lots more to come, lots more work that I need to do, but hopefully we're all having fun here. So thanks for watching, take care.